started, shall we?
Yes.
Good. I just want to make sure you're awake and ready for all of this. So I want to make sure that you're all here to learn about preparing for career fairs. Yes. Okay, great. Let me give you an overview of what we're going to be talking about this morning. We're going to do introductions ourselves as well as quick introductions of all of you so we have a feel for who's in the room. We're going to go through some career fair tips. You're going to learn about elevator pitches and actually draft one and practice it. And I've been thinking about renaming them to professional introductions.
I like that name.
Maybe. Anyway, you can help me with that later. And for those of you that are new students in the Graduate School of Education, at orientation, Auntie Yao did something new. And she asked the group what skills they wanted to learn this year that started with each of the letters in learn. So I think you'll be doing listening and empathy, maybe a little research, certainly networking. And a student in my class last week shared some reading for one of her classes, and she said, sometimes activism isn't about a loud protest with hundreds of people. Sometimes it's just showing up. So I would argue, based on that we're also engaging in activism because you're all here today. Alrighty, so I will have Allison introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Allison Viverette. I am getting my master's here at GSC in higher education. So I'm in my first week of classes like many of you, and I'm supposed to graduate in May, fingers crossed. But for a little bit more context, I am Amy's graduate assistant this year, so I'll be at all the Wednesday workshops and will be another friendly face at GSC.
Another thing I didn't think to mention, we've started a career peer advisor program. So there's 6 of our students that are volunteering to have office hours and possibly participate in the workshops. So at some point, if you come to some of the sessions, you might meet one of them as well. My name's Amy Benedict, and I'm the director of GSC Career and Professional Development, and I'm also an alumna. I graduated from our higher education management program, one of our executive programs, in 2010, and did my research on the impact of international internships on undergraduate college students' career development. And I've spent my entire career until about 2 years ago working in public higher education in New York State, and then moved here to work at my alma mater a couple years ago. So how about if we do some quick introductions, maybe name, program, what degree you're working toward, and are you first year student, second year student, kind of where are you in the scheme of things? Do you mind if we start with you? Okay.
I'm Claire. I'm currently in the LST program. I'm a master's student, and I'm in my 1-year program. I'm from Hong Kong.
Cool. How about if I just thought about something. So I know what LST is, and you know what LST is. They might not know what LST is. Do you mind saying out the acronym?
So LST is Learning Sciences and Technology. Why I guess wanted to do the program?
No, that's okay. We don't have enough time to get to that, but you and I can talk about that, or you can talk later.
Hi, I'm Barbara. I'm a second year, actually a third year. I'm still getting used to it. Third year PhD student in the quantitative methods program here at Penn GSC. And
I think that was it. You started the same year I started, right? Because we're starting our 3rd year.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hi everyone, I'm Idil. I'm in the LST program, so Learning Sciences and Technologies, and this is my first semester.
Great.
Hi, my name is Jingy Ma. I go by Carol. I'm in the SMART program, which is
I know, it's a long one.
statistics, measurement, assessment, and research technology. I got it right. Yeah, it's my first year.
Great.
Hi, my name is Liam. I'm in the International Education Development Program, and I'm in my 2nd year.
Hello, I'm Amy. I'm also in the International Education Development Program and 2nd year.
And they just got back from amazing internships this summer. So we got to update those resumes too.
Hi everyone, my name is Bhavna Saluja, and I'm I'm a master's computer science student here.
Hi, I'm Gaurav. I'm a second year master's computer science student, School of Engineering.
Hi, I'm Ziyang Liu. You can just call me Jacob, and I'm the first year in the SMART program class, as Samantha has already said the full name for me.
I was going to say the first one gets to say it all, and then you don't have to. Love it. Great.
My name's Shirley, and I'm a first year LST student as well, learning science technology.
Great.
Hi, I'm Bean. I'm a first year master student in education policy.
Education policy. Okay, great.
Year-round, I go by Rachel, and I'm counseling and mental health service, and this is my first year.
Great.
Hi everyone, my name is Myungjeong, but I go by Mindy. I'm also a first year student in the CMHS, which is Counseling and Mental Health Services program.
Hi, I'm Lara Bajabedian. I'm with the Education Entrepreneurship program, and I just started classes in the summer.
Great.
Hi, my name is Amrita and I'm a second year master's student in biotechnology.
Hi, my name is Yijing Wang, and you can call me Thea, and I'm in the Master of the Public Administration program in the LPS.
Okay, great.
Hi, my name is Emily, and I'm a first year master's student in education policy.
Alright, my name is Derek. I'm in the one-year program of clinical mental health service. I guess those are my classmates.
Yep.
I know. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so see, not only are you meeting people from other programs, you're meeting people in your program.
Hi everyone, my name is Lin Feng. I'm a second year TESOL student in GSC. Nice to meet you guys.
Do you mind saying what TESOL
Yeah,
is, just to be safe?
Yeah, teaching English to speakers of another languages.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm Jen. I'm also in the Learning Sciences and Technology program. It's a one-year program this semester.
And are you just starting?
Yes.
Great.
Hi, my name is Nee, or you can call me Michaela, and I'm in the Interdisciplinary Studies and Human Development program, and I'm a first year student as well.
Great. Thank you for taking a moment to do that. So one of my goals in this role is trying to get people from programs across GSE and the university interacting with each other, because what I found from my research the first 2 years is that you often don't have chances to interact with people outside of your program, and you often have overlapping interests. So doing these workshops is hopefully meeting my goal of getting you interacting more. Alrighty. So now, career fair. So are any of you planning to go to the career fair on Friday? Excellent. Not that that's a requirement of being here today, but I'm glad you know about it and are planning to go. So we're going to go through some tips. Some of them might seem basic and obvious. What I like to remind people is what might seem basic and obvious to you could be the first time somebody in the room has ever heard it. So I look at all of us as teachers and learners together. So first tip is to research, and I would replace the word companies with employers, because not all employers are companies. And I didn't take the time to wipe that out and make it employers instead, so I'll just say that. So I don't know how many of you know that you have access to Vault as a student at Penn. Do any of you know about that? Would you tell the group what Vault is?
So basically, if you have a preferred employer, like the company you want to go and talk to, so there is a lot of information about those companies, the kind of people they hire, ratings, the previous employees have mentioned about their feedback regarding that company, and you get a feel for how the company is and what is their culture.
Yeah. So you have access to this service while you're a student. This is one that does not carry over to being an alum. And in addition to ratings on different organizations, there's industry guides, there's articles on different topics related to the search, and there's job postings. So you can either go to the GSE Career and Professional Development website or the Penn Career Services website and find the hyperlink, click on it, and you'll create an account with your Penn key and password, and then you'll be able to look at the Vault articles. And they send newsletters about once a week or so, and sometimes the topics will be very relevant, and you'll think, oh my gosh, how did they know I needed that information? Other times you won't be interested at all, but it's a handy little service that is available to you. So part of what I did this morning was I went into Handshake. Have you all activated your Handshake account?
Yeah.
Okay, so for those of you that haven't, I'm not gonna call you out, but I want you to make sure to activate your Handshake account, because that's a very important way that we get information to you, and that's also how you schedule appointments with the career development staff. So what I did this morning is I went into fairs and clicked on career link, which is on Friday, and then I did a little bit of filtering. There's about 80 employers that are registered as of today. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to get that all in one screenshot, so I filtered by jobs, full-time, masters, and then I did a few of the programs in GSE just to get it a little bit shorter. So this is just a sampling of 4 of the employers that will be at the career fair on Friday, which is from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. The address is listed as 3659 Chestnut, which I think is the Sheraton. I think they've often done that event there. Does anybody know that, is that, yes, no, yes, maybe,
Yeah.
probably, it is, okay. So you can look at all the employers you want. Another thing I love about it for our international students, you can see who's accepting OPT and CPT. So if there's an employer you're really excited about and they're not accepting OPT, you are certainly welcome to talk to them. Just know in advance that they're saying right up front, nope, we're not sponsoring. So you may also inquire about if they have locations in your home country. Maybe you'd be able to work with them there. And then I didn't do screenshots of this, but you are able to click on the details. And then you can also go to their website and get more information. So one of the things in going to a career fair, you don't want it, I should put it in the positive. You want to be asking questions that go beyond what you can read here, right? They expect that you've taken the time to learn a little bit about the organization and what they do and recent developments and that sort of thing. So you want to be prepared to know things beyond what you can find on the website. Okay. Anything you want to add?
Nope.
Any questions about any of that? I also want to put career fairs in perspective. Having been involved in organizing career fairs myself in the past, for an event like this, I suspect 300 to 400 invitations went out to a variety of employers. And based on their schedules, the cost of getting here, their success in recruiting Penn students in the past, things that are going on in the organization, 80 employers have chosen to attend. So it's great that they're coming. You have an opportunity to talk to 80 employers a few blocks away. Career fairs aren't representative of all of the possibilities that are out there. So I know at least one of you, or one of your classmates who didn't come today, will pop into my office on Friday afternoon at 4:55. My work day ends at 5 usually, unless there's a crisis, and say, there wasn't anybody at the career fair that I want to work for. I'm never going to get a job. Or something along that line. I promise you, somebody will. So remember, sampling, not the only resource that's available to you. So I don't want to see any of you at my door at 4:55 on Friday. I mean, you can, but not for that. All right?
I think the other thing to add also is that a lot of these companies that you might meet with might not have jobs open right now, but they may when you're done with your program and you're actively looking for a job. So keep that in mind if they don't say anything.
And that reminds me too, in the description, many of them will return to campus to do on-campus interviews. And hopefully they'll let you know that and give you information about when they'll be coming. And that's another way that you'll be using Handshake is to submit resumes, be selected, schedule your interview time, etc. Okay, so develop questions. Not unlike what I alluded to previously, you should be thinking about what are the things you want to know from the representative of that organization. that go beyond what you can find out in their website, and relate to what your interests might be. That's the second tip. And by the way, I have a handout with all of these on there, so if you're trying to furiously write everything, you don't have to, I have it all for you. Forgot to say that. Anything you want to add?
I think just remember to ask questions that are personal to you and that aren't super generic. Think about what you really want to know, what you really value in the employer that you're hoping to seek employment from, and remember to ask those questions.
All right, number 3, create an elevator pitch. So, who knows what an elevator pitch is? Only because you answered before, I'm going to go with one of these two. Which one of you would like to tell what an elevator pitch is?
No, sure. I mean, it's a 2-minute pitch or even shorter, where you're basically introducing yourself, but also highlighting your strengths with relevant experiences, to communicate enough to show some sort of alignment with the job that you're seeking, but also speak some interest.
Yeah. Anything you would add?
Well, the reason it's called an elevator pitch is because you want to fit it into a session when you meet someone important in an elevator. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the idea, timing-wise, is if you were in an elevator and knew that your ideal employer was in the elevator with you, what would you want to say to that person during that amount of time? I don't think I'm going to show the little video because the handout that I'm going to show next actually goes through the points really well. So sometimes people will say, well, what if I don't know what I want to do for sure? You can still create an elevator pitch focused on maybe the industry that you want to work on in, or an issue that you're passionate about, or a part of the world that you're passionate about, or skills you want to be using, knowledge that you're gaining that you want to use. I mean, yeah, in an ideal world, you know the job, you know the organization, you know the position, all of that, but it can be broad as well. Anything you want to add? Okay. So, the first tip is knowing your audience. And I have a handout with all of these as well. That goes back to researching and knowing a little bit about the employer. In some cases, you might know who is representing the employer that day, and if you have a chance to do either some LinkedIn research or QuakerNet research, or research to get into the staff directory and find out a little bit more about them, you can tailor your conversation a little bit more. Okay, so in preparing an elevator speech, the first step in preparing an outline is thinking about what are your key strengths or positive qualities. So, I got some interesting feedback when I was reviewing, let me make sure to get the 2-sided ones. Yep. Notes for a class that I'm teaching this year. The question was, tell us about your experience with career services. And the person wrote, I'm adding intonation, of course, Amy's nice, but I got the top 10 reasons to hire me handout multiple times, and it wasn't helpful. I think it's geared toward undergrads. So when I read it, I thought to myself, wow, either I didn't do a very good job of explaining it, and or this person didn't get it. I'm thinking it's a little of both, so I'll take responsibility for my part. And I assure you, this exercise is not geared toward undergrads. It's geared toward anybody. Retiree, undergrad, graduate student, international student, domestic, whatever the case might be. So, if you'll look at the back side of the handout, that looks like this, there's a sampling. Did everybody get one? I don't know if I had enough to go around.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
yeah.
I'll get them at the end. Thank you. There's a sampling of some of the skills and some of the qualities. Not all of them, just some of them. A nice sample that you can be working from. And this list is actually from the Penn Career Services website. I think, yeah, I did cite that at the beginning. you can use this to start to think about what are your key strengths and positive qualities. Now, go to the next step. Why are you interested in this organization, or more generally, this field or industry? So for example, if I was going to the fair and I was talking to somebody that was recruiting for career counselors in higher education, and let's say it was Penn GSE, I would say something about, I'm passionate about the field of higher education and want to help students in the Graduate School of Education make their career dreams come true. So, you know, your mission aligns with my mission, or something like that. A good answer is not because I need a job when I graduate. Don't say that. Some people will. Don't say that. And then, step 3, talk a little bit about what are the unique contributions that you can make. And again, that goes back to the skills and qualities. It could be experience that you had over the summer or in your GA-ship. And then practice your pitch. So it might sound odd to ask your roommate or a friend or something, would you be willing to listen to my pitch? But the more often you practice it, the more natural it sounds and the less rehearsed it sounds. When you're actually talking to the person at the career fair on Friday or some other time, it's important in this context to make eye contact. So I know in some cultural backgrounds, making direct eye contact is not appropriate. In this context, making direct eye contact is appropriate. That's how you show the employer that you're interested in what they have to say. Now, having said that, we also don't know the cultural background of the person you'll be talking to, so you have to sort of watch for some clues, body language, if you will, about your interaction.
And this might be coming up, but it's good to shake the employer's hand. Again, in some cultural backgrounds, I know that might not be appropriate, but generally in this context, it is.
I'll share a little story. I was in a situation, I was in a student development division meeting, and a rabbi who was the director of the local Chabad was at the meeting as a guest speaker. And so I approached him to shake his hand, and he went like this. And I thought, and you know, in a split second in my head, oh, what's that all about? And then he politely explained, in my religious tradition, we believe that touch between males and females is reserved for married couples. So in my head, I thought, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I also had an awkward conversation with a colleague I just met. I shook her hand and she shook it very loosely. And I said, oh, come on, we gotta work on that handshake. I felt awful. She had a hand issue and wasn't able to squeeze my hand tightly. So just be prepared that you might not receive the kind of handshake that you're thinking you might. Another tip about eye contact, this is a great tip. If you don't feel comfortable making direct eye contact with the person you're talking to, look at their nose. So, let's see. I'm gonna look at your nose while I'm talking to you and tell me if you think I'm making eye contact with you. So, I'm so glad you came to the workshop today. I hope that you're gonna find some helpful tips and that you'll have a chance to practice your elevator pitch. Did you think I was looking in your eyes?
Yes.
I wasn't, I was looking at your nose. So, that's a great tip. File that one away for future. So this is the overall guide that we have for you. So now, I'm gonna have you start writing a draft of your elevator pitch. So, as I mentioned previously, top 10 reasons to hire me exercise can be used in multiple ways. One of the ways is in developing your elevator pitch. So I want you to take a moment. I can't remember what my next slide is because I switched them around this morning. Okay. No problem, thanks for coming. So I want you to imagine that your dream employer is going to be at the career fair on Friday. And if you don't know who your dream employer is exactly, at least in general, what field are they from? Or what kind of organization are they? And that sort of thing. And based on that, maybe looking at the top 2 to 3 reasons to hire you. And actually, why don't I give you the elevator pitch guide? I want you to write a first draft of your elevator pitch. And I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do it. Now, hopefully it's readable.
Did everyone get a chance to sign in using sign-in sheet? So we can circulate that again. Who has it right now?
So gentlemen, everyone's working on writing the first draft of their elevator pitch. You're very welcome. Yep. So I've got about 11:58. Yes, 10:58. Sorry, I saw a little hand on the 11. Right. Sorry. So we'll go maybe till about 5 after. Maybe how can I have you give me a sign that you're done? Maybe flip over the elevator pitch guide when you're done, because it's blank on the back, and that way I'll know you're done. I forgot, for any new students that came to, let's see, the second day of new student orientation, I did a session on professional communication.
Yeah.
So I apologize that you're getting this again, but it's another chance to practice with somebody else. So you guys will be even better at it come Friday. All right, a couple more minutes to finish up your first draft. Remember, it's just a draft. As you're finishing up for now, those of you that have been to one of my sessions before, or you were at orientation in the professional communication session, you know what I'm going to do next. So, given this layout of the room, I'm going to pair you up. So try to follow me on this one. I think it will work. So I'm going to start with you, and you're number 1.
2.
1, 3.
3.
3.
4.
5.
6.
7.
8.
9.
11.
Okay, stop. All right. So now you're 1,
2,
3. 4. 5.
6.
9.
Wait, where are we at? 22?
You forgot the front two.
Oh.
Oh, right. I knew I counted it right. 9, 10. Okay, so what I want the second group of 11 to do is to move your chair. Who was number 1? You were number 1? you're gonna come over and sit across from number 1. And then number 2 is gonna sit across from number 2. And number 3, and so on.
And you can use these chairs in the middle too if you don't want to pull them all the way around.
Yeah. So basically, the first 11 are staying put. The second 11 are finding their partner and sitting across from them.
And for context on why we have people do this with someone you don't know is because when it comes down to it, at a career fair or in a professional environment, you're not going to be giving your elevator pitch to someone that you know. So it's important to practice that now as well.
Okay, so go find your partner. The second group of 11.
Thanks.
I've not presented this topic in this room before, so we'll see how this works. So once you find your partner, if you will introduce yourself, just names for the moment, and then I'll give you the next set of directions. I've learned that if I give the directions while you're trying to find your partner, it's hard.
You've got a crowded corner over here. You've got a crowded corner.
Oh, yeah, if you want to spread out a little bit, and if you guys want to spread down a little bit so you're not right on top of each other. I need you to come down a little bit farther because they're really close. Sorry about that. Okay, so first you're going to introduce yourself. All right. Once you've introduced yourself, silencio, por favor, so I can tell you the next set of directions.
I just got a friend named Hamish.
I have a second.
Okay. So now I want you to decide who in your pair is going to go first, and then I'll tell you what first is. Decide who's going. You're both going to go. You're both going to have a turn. So decide who's going to go first. I love it. Rock, paper, scissors. All right. Does everybody know who's going to go first? Okay. So the first person. This is not very conducive. Let's move you two down here.
There's 2 chairs already down here too, so you don't need 2 chairs.
Now you can go.
Thank you for your flexibility. One of my words for you, flexibility. Okay, so number 1, you're going to tell your partner at the moment what you think your dream job, organization, position, field might be. And you might be very clear, you might be very fuzzy, or you might be somewhere in between. And then I'm going to give you 1 minute to give your elevator pitch to your partner. And then I'll tell you what the next directions are after that. All right? So ready? Question? Go.
Can you repeat that? You might be
Basically, introducing. Okay, sorry. So, the first person is going to tell their partner the best they know today, what their dream job is, and then they're going to do their elevator pitch. You're going to have 1 minute. I'm going to time you, and I'm going to tell you when to stop. And then I'll tell you what the partner is going to do after number 1 gives their pitch. Got it? Okay. Go. has 1 minute to give the talker feedback about their elevator pitch. Ready? Go.
That's my problem. I'm bad at time
Stop. Okay, so now you're going to switch roles. So the listener is going to become the talker, and the talker is going to become the listener. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to do your thing. Ready? Go. Stop. Okay, so now the listener has 1 minute to give the talker feedback. Go.
This is also
Stop. Stop. Good that you're having great conversations. Okay, so I want you to think about when you were in your talker role, so for both of you, how was that experience? What was that like? Yeah.
I say I did not have enough time
Yeah.
to let the interviewer know me.
You didn't have enough time to let the interviewer know you. Okay, what else?
I mean, I felt pressured to mention everything that I thought was important and
Yeah.
that the employer would want to hear, but at the same time make sense in that
Right.
1 minute. Yeah.
So you're trying to get as much as you could in that time. There was another, yeah.
I felt intimidated, like where do I start from?
Oh, you felt intimidated? What else? I think there was somebody back in here. What else? There's no right answers, by the way.
Just speak too fast and sit.
You talk too fast. Okay. Anything else that you want to share? So believe it or not, the ideal timeline for your elevator pitch is 30 seconds. So I gave you a minute. In the next round, I'm gonna give you 45 seconds. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna see if this works. I want the inner people to stand up. So people in the inside of the U. And take one step to the right to the next chair. So you're actually going to go over there. So everybody take one step to the right. So you should have a new partner. So go ahead and introduce yourselves and decide who's going to go first. And then I forgot to give you one instruction.
Whichever you like.
So when you've decided who's going to go first, if you'll let me know, and then I'll give you one other instruction that I forgot to give last time. If you happen to be partnered with someone who speaks your native language and it's other than English, I want you doing this in English. Why do you think I want you doing this in English? Because the employers more than likely are going to be speaking English, so I want you practicing speaking in English, if it doesn't come very naturally to you yet, to have these kinds of conversations so that when you get there on Friday, you'll be perfect. All right? So, this time I'm going to give you 45 seconds. Oh, I can figure that out on my watch. Kidding. All right, go. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so I'm still going to give the partner a minute to give feedback. All right? So, ready? Go. Okay, stop. So now you're going to switch roles, and I'll give the speaker 45 seconds to give their pitch. Ready? Go. Stop. Okay, so now the partner has a minute to give you feedback. you, thinking from your speaker role, how was it that time? It was better. Why?
Now you know like which things you can skip before because of the first activity.
Very smart. Yes?
Yeah, learning from the mistakes of the first grade.
Yes. What else from the second round? Oh, come on, you were all just gabbing a minute ago. Yes.
I think one struggle with having less time is making sure that it doesn't sound very generic.
Yes. So having a little bit less time, not wanting it to sound too generic, and as tailored as you can to the employer. Absolutely. Anything else? I'm going to get back to that in a second. Why do you think, two things, why do you think I had to switch partners?
You will meet different employers in the interview.
Yeah, so meeting different employers, you get different feedback from different people. Other thoughts about why I had you switch partners? You don't know for sure who you're going to be talking to and what their preferences might be. Did anybody get different feedback from their first partner and their second partner? Yes. So it could be based on personal preferences. It could be based on you had a chance to practice and modify things a little bit. Do you have a sense of which one it might have been, Liam?
Yeah, different perspective on communication.
Yeah, different perspective. Good. Why do you think I gave you 45 seconds the second time? Did I already say that? Why? I did already say it. So to get you the sense of, okay, that's still longer than 30 seconds. So that idea, I think it might have been you in the first round saying, oh my God, I was trying to get, this wasn't your exact words, but I was trying to get everything in that minute. You can't get everything in that minute. So what are the most important things? And hopefully the employer will, you know, like a game of Frisbee, hopefully it's going to go back and forth, and the employer will ask you some questions and you'll get to tell a little bit more, and it'll go back and forth. Now, sometimes you might be in a situation that's not a career fair and you don't know who the person is and who they work for, or if they're a student, or what the case might be. So for example, for GSE students, the weekend of homecoming, there's going to be a reception for alumni and current students. And you might go to that event and you won't know for sure who's who. So in that case, your professional introduction, we'll call it, might have to be a little more generic until you know a little more about the person. So I know you happen to share that you're from Hong Kong. So if you either happen to be from Hong Kong, just went on a trip to Hong Kong, have a cousin that lives in Hong Kong, whatever the case might be, that gives you something in common that you can start the Frisbee game with, if you will. Helps you find a common point and then hopefully get to the professional stuff. All right? I have a story of a colleague who was working at December commencement in upstate New York. It was very, very, very cold. It wasn't terribly snowing. And she had volunteered at commencement, and she happened to walk out with the president of the university. And she knew who he was because, well, everybody knew who he was. And she did her professional introduction, and in a conversation later was sharing it with some colleagues. And so having rehearsed it in her mind, it flowed more easily with him than, you know, hi, President Lehman. So you never know when you're going to bump into Amy and she's going to ask, so tell me about yourselves. Do you know who Amy is? Not me. The president. Yeah. Good answer. And for the GSE students, she's affiliated with our school because her research interests are education and democracy. Anyway, so if you'd like to go back to your original spots, you may do that. Or not. stay where you are. That's fine too. That means there might be less chaotic. So stay where you are. Never mind. So we did round 2. So the 4th tip of the career fair tip, arrive prepared. So what that means is, I'm going to focus first on bring copies of your resume. Even if it's not your perfect final, I mean, make sure there's no spelling errors and that sort of thing. But, you know, make sure it's updated from the summer. Bring that with you. Make sure you have paper and something to write on. Although I know from my 17-year-old daughter, this is a little outdated. I suppose you might take your notes on your phone. But what you might want to do, in case the person you're speaking to is a little old school, when you whip out your phone to start taking notes, let them know that the reason you're getting out your phone is to take notes, not to look at the text you just received from your friend. That's just a professional thing.
Taking notes.
See? Good job. Case in point. And then dress professionally. Now in the description for CareerLink, it said business casual. So what that would mean, not to pick on anybody, that would mean you're not going to show up like either of these two. As comfortable as they look, and I'm wishing I looked similarly, which I will afterward, they look like students. They look casual. They don't look very professional. If you were dressed a little more, I'm trying to think, is there anybody that's kind of business casual? You're kind of business casual. You. But not open-toed shoes. Some people are funny about that. I know I'm not doing this to evaluate, but, you know, so if you don't know what business casual is, ask somebody. It would probably mean nice pants, not jeans. It could be a skirt if you wanted to. You know, kind of a plain-ish top. You don't want anything too wild or love your shirt, but don't you dare wear that on Friday. Kidding. Well, and the other thing actually is I would say to people, if Liam went to the career fair wearing that shirt and somebody wasn't going to hire him because of the shirt, as his career counselor, I would say, then you know what, they are not the right employer for you. So, tip number 4, arrive prepared. Oh, and for the GSE students in the room, if you've still got your tin of mints that you got at orientation, pop one of those in before you go too, so you have nice fresh breath. And then follow up. So when you're chatting with a person, ask them if you may have their business card. Again, having worked career fairs for many years, I don't know how this happens, but some of the employers will say, oh, I forgot to bring them, or oh, I left them in my car, or whatnot. So you can whip out your phone and ask them to put their info in if you'd like. I would send a thank you note afterward. It doesn't have to be that day, but within a couple of days, send a quick little thank you note. I enjoyed talking with you and learning more about your position at such and such. You know, I hope you'll, depending on the conversation, I look forward to hearing about openings, or I look forward to meeting you when you're back on campus, or, you know, whatever the case might be. It can be very short. Yes?
So Amy, do you think there's something else we can give out to the people we're speaking with there other than a resume? Do you think like a business card, like a student card?
That is such a great question. So, very soon, do we have the date yet?
Not yet.
Okay, very soon, and I apologize for the differentiating, for GSE students, we're going to be offering a set of 100 free business cards. So that hasn't happened yet. So, let's say it was about 6 weeks from now, taking your business card would be a great thing to do. In the meantime, for all of you, if you want to order student business cards, I have an order form outside my office and also on the Penn GSE Career and Professional Development website that you can order business cards from Campus Copy. They're about $35 for 100 or something like that. And there's other places like Biscuit Print, you can do them really cheap. You might not have them in time for Friday. But yes, business card is easier than your whole resume, for example. And also, if you're thinking about different career options, you might be working on tailoring your resumes for different employers. So you can either bring the most generic one, or you could bring, you know, the one for venture capitalists, the one for education technology, the one for bring different ones, and then distribute the resume based on the organization that you're talking to. And that handout is up front. I was worried that we weren't going to have enough time, and now we actually have extra time. So I want to leave time for questions that you might have, things you're wondering about, or other services. Yes?
Do you think we should have one-page resumes, or is it okay to
So the question is, should we have a one-page resume? How many of you are master's degree or higher? Or seeking master's degree or higher? At the master's level, a two-page resume is fine. In fact, in some cases, if you didn't have a two-page resume, an employer would wonder, what? This is all she's done? Now, that can also depend on the field. At the bachelor's level, a one-page resume would be typical. At the doctoral level, it would probably be 3 or 4, depending on what stage in the process that you are. Yes?
So we just like begin our new semester, but do we need to add like University of Pennsylvania in our education background on the resume?
So the question is, I just started. Do I update my resume now with Penn? Yes, you do. So your resume in the education section and the experience section goes in reverse chronological order. So you might be wondering, but I don't have a degree yet. So I'm just gonna abbreviate. Penn, you'll be spelling it out, of course. You're gonna put the degree that you're working toward. And I don't mean that this should be the layout. And you're either gonna put, you can put the word candidate. Are you a May 2020 or a May 2021 grad?
2020.
Okay, and then if you put, this is kind of cramped, May 2020, they know that you haven't earned this yet. You're a candidate and you're going to be earning it. And then, what was your undergrad school?
Ohio State.
Oh, another Ohio State. I've got 3 of them I've met recently.
Well, I haven't met them before. Introduce
Give me your email and I'll introduce you. Sorry, part of my goal to get people connecting more. So Ohio State and whatever your bachelor's degree was, and did you just graduate in the spring?
Mm-hmm.
So May 2018. If you had an associate's degree because you went to Corning Community College, where I worked at the beginning of my career, and you got an Associates of Applied Science, and you got that in May 2016, we put that. Doctoral students do need to be careful. Some people get very particular about you're not a doctoral candidate until a certain point. I don't remember now, but you might put doctoral student, and then we can look up when do you become a candidate. I think it might be when your proposal gets approved.
ABD.
Yeah. So some people get very particular about that, so just be careful. Other questions as you think about prepping? Yeah.
I guess it's more personal, but for example, in my own experience, my own work experience is a mix of tech and finance, and so would you recommend, if I'm going to the tech focus career fair, would you recommend having a tailored, like a tech resume, and then having one that focuses more on my finance experience resume?
So, probably, but it all depends on the kind of job you're seeking and the types of employers you're talking to. So you're thinking tech more?
Or I was just thinking, like, for example, so like education's pretty much solidified, but in terms of...
I know, I'm gonna show you in a minute. I'm asking follow-up questions.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm like looking at both opportunities.
You're looking at both? Yeah. So depending, and this is totally without looking at it and talking, and this generally would apply for many of you, you could divide it into 2 kinds of experience. So you could have a technical experience category that has all of those jobs in reverse chronological order. And then you can have a finance experience in all of those jobs in reverse chronological order. And then depending, you can switch the order. For the finance jobs, have this first and then have the tech second. What gets tricky is if you had a tech job at a finance-based company,
Yeah.
then it gets a little blurry, and we should
I
talk
guess what I just
individually.
meant was like, for example, or what is the ideal amount of content to include for each, like?
Okay, I'm not gonna get into that
Okay.
because that's a whole other
Okay.
workshop, and we could spend another hour going over that. Enough to tell the employer what you're capable of, but not so much nitty-gritty detail. I'm not telling you how many. So I'm gonna tell you the words of a very wise person who was my professor here and now is my supervisor. Imagine that you're writing for resume to very smart people who know nothing about what you're talking about. Usually I find in critiques, people have not given enough detail because they're worried about, oh, somebody told me I should only have 4 bullets, or, oh, I'm trying to keep it in 1 page. How much detail to tell somebody that knows nothing about your field what you're capable of? Okay, how about other career fair related questions? Yes?
How many career fairs will I have for like the whole year? Year?
So, I don't know off the top of my head. I'm gonna give you homework. You can go into Handshake and see how many are scheduled. So, an excellent point that brings up, and the student was asking earlier, he said, I didn't get an email about the career fair on Friday. You might not get an email about the career fairs that are going on, depending. So that's why you want to be sure to be checking Handshake on a regular basis to see what might be coming up. There's also, like in engineering, I noticed there's some coffee chats coming up. So those will be more informal that our engineering students can go to and talk to employers. There is a, public policy and government career fair coming up. There's a biotech career fair at some point. I can't remember the other ones off the top of my head. There's a finance or real estate one, too, coming up.
I have a question about the working experience and internship experience on resume. Should it be like within the?
I'm not going to answer any more resume questions.
Oh.
Because it's only because I want to stay focused on our topic, and then maybe we can talk individually. Or you can go to the resume workshop. Other career fair questions?
So the people who usually come at career fairs, are they recruiters or are they people who are just representing the company? And
Sometimes it's both. Sometimes they'll send alums. So it might be an alum who works for the organization but doesn't happen to be a recruiter. So they are going to talk about their experience at Penn and how it was helpful in them working in this organization. So maybe a way to think about it broadly is it's a representative of the organization. You're going to be making a professional first impression on them, and depending on how that goes, they're going to go back and say, she's fabulous. When we go to campus, we need to interview her. Or, she was okay. And it's not going to be, she was okay because you came here today.
Thank you.
That actually reminds me of something else. Do you all know about Interview Stream? So as students and in the future as alumni, you have access to Interview Stream, which is online practice interviewing. So you go to either the Penn GSE Career Services website or the Penn Career Services website, click on the hyperlink, go to Interview Stream, create your account, and there are hundreds of pre-recorded questions for all different kinds of career fields. So you choose the questions that you want to be asked, and then you have to have, do you have one? A camera, I can't tell, yeah, a camera or a separate camera, or a friend of the camera, and pre-recorded actors and actresses come on the screen. It's a little weird at first, but it works. And then they ask you the questions that you want to be asked. And then you answer, and your questions get recorded. So at the very least, when you're done, you can watch it, and you'll probably have a feel for, oh, I talked way too long, or I should have given more detail, or oh, I was messing with my hair, or whatever it might be. So thinking about the career fair, you could practice on interview stream. And I would say the question that you could pick for your professional introduction would be, tell me about yourself. I mean, tell me about yourself is a lot like your elevator pitch, your professional introduction. So if you wanted to practice a little bit in privacy before Friday, you could use interview stream to do that. Other career fair questions? Yes.
Yeah, so the people who come like for a particular company, so are they looking do they recruit on the spot, or like they would suggest us to like wait till they come on the campus for like how is it?
So the question is, I'm going to translate it a little bit, if you will. When I'm talking to the representative at the career fair, are they going to be interviewing me on the spot? Not necessarily, and hopefully they will tell you if they are. And often, as Allison said earlier, they're there to meet you, to tell a little bit more about their organization and what their hiring needs might be in the future. And if they do have an on-campus interview day scheduled, hopefully they will tell you about that. Or if they're taking your resume, they might send you an email about that. So it would be fairly unusual that they would be interviewing you on the spot. But again, you're making a first impression with them. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Anything else about career fair, elevator pitch? So, you can pick up the handouts about the career fair tips. Remember, career fair is a great opportunity to meet a sampling of organizations and their representatives, and there are additional resources to help you with your job search. So you want to make sure to come to additional programs, schedule appointments with the folks that serve your program areas in terms of career services. Take advantage of all the amazing resources that we have. I got 11:44. Anything else in the last minute related to career fairs? All right. Well, great. Oh, yes.
Like, how do we approach, like, in the first second that we are, approaching the employers? Like, elevator pitch is good and all, man, but like, when you're facing the individual, like, at first, like, what do you say? Like, hi.
Like literally the first.
Yes, ma'am. Like the first thing that comes out of your mouth. What do you say?
No, don't do that. I mean, in a way, not unlike what I had you do with your partner.
Yes, ma'am.
So you might say, can I use you as the example? Hi, my name is Amy Benedict. I'm a student in the Graduate School of Higher Education in the Higher Education Development Program.
Nice to meet you, I'm Rachel.
So I might give just that brief little, here's who I am in this context. And then hopefully they'll say something back, and then tell me more about you, and then you will go into your well-practiced elevator pitch. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
And related to the handshake, like
Yes.
not the
Not the system,
Yeah.
the literal handshake.
how long we should hold it.
You know, that is so funny. So in my class, there's no higher ed students in here. We're going to practice handshakes because culturally or personally or whatever, there are YouTube clips on handshaking. So let me see if I can remember part of it. So it's with your right hand to right hand. Do you know where handshaking came from? Do you know the history of it?
No.
It was a way to show your enemy, I suppose, that you were not armed. You weren't ready with your sword or your gun or whatever. Probably goes back to medieval, your sword. So you're gonna do palm to palm, and I forget what this part of your hand is called. In the videos they talk about it. You want that part of your hands to meet, and you're gonna grip around the bottom, not too tight and not too loose, and generally speaking, it's going to be 2 to 3 pumps, if you will, and then you're going to release. Should we do it again?
Yeah.
So if you hold too long, that kind of creeps people out, depending. I hate the like half, the half handshake thing, or what else? Some people squeeze too hard. So practice with others if you'd like. That was a great question.
So like there's no gender difference in the handshaking?
Ha! Love it! What is the answer, my friends?
No.
No. And in fact, depending on who you were interviewing with, now obviously you don't know, but if you happen to be talking to someone who had feminist leanings, which I should share personal points of view, but from my view, that just means that women are people too, and you offered a weaker handshake, it might piss her off.
Okay.
And it would reflect negatively on you.
Okay.
But you're right, I mean, that's something that's different culturally.
Because I learned sometimes it's just not polite for gentlemen to just grab a lady's hand and maybe.
So, you're right, it would be weird if we, came up to each other and you just reached out and took my hand, that would be very weird. So, let's say I'm the recruiter, you could wait for me to extend my hand and then give me the handshake.
So I still need to grab the whole thing like this?
Like this, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's good to know.
That's a great question. And see, these are the things that people think, I should know this, but I don't. If we were in a situation like the story I told you with the rabbi or the woman with a hand disability, hopefully they would give you some sort of cue that I don't shake hands. Other questions?
I think just one thing to add too, sometimes I've gone to career fairs when I'm a little under the weather, not feeling well.
I was thinking about that.
It's totally okay if you're not comfortable shaking someone's hand. Say, I'm a little under the weather, I'm not going to shake your hand right now because I don't want to get you sick, or whatever it might be. So, if that comes up, just keep that in mind that that's totally appropriate.
And then depending on the person, they're thinking, ooh, good, he's interested in public health issues. We definitely